to talk about how we can 10x our life. Someone asked an interesting question, like, I would like to see how somebody would answer that. Like, how can we dance when the earth is turning? Well, the earth is turning and we dance because we get intentional about creating that, right? So here is a conversation. Like, if you're just jumping on here, tell me where you're checking in from. If you haven't joined the Potential Zone group, I highly recommend that you go do so, because I put a lot of resources in there that can support you in stepping into your fullest potential in all areas of your life, right? Like, this is what I love doing. I am the guy that programs success. Like, I am a success programmer for people. And there are things that I have seen that have let people let go of what holds them back. And literally literally some places like almost 100x their life. And so I say 10x just to be conservative, because there's a lot of people out there that have been conditioned to believe that get rich quick scheme is a scam. And that's just part of what we've been conditioned to believe. So what do you think? Like, I just want to ask you a question, and I encourage everybody to participate in the questions that I'm going to be asking. What is it? And I'm here to support everybody that's here as well. What is it that you think stands in the way of you stepping into your greatness and creating abundance in any area of your life, right? Brian, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yeah, we get to 5,000. I'll give everybody a copy of my international best-selling book, right? Like, this is massive, massive, powerful strategies in here. So if you're over here and you want to get a copy of my book, then go to TikTok, right? What is it that's stopping you from stepping into your greatness? What is it inside of you that stops you from stepping into your greatness? Right? Like, there's some things that are common denominators that happen with my students, with my clients, and anything like that. Any chance I can borrow? Don't know, dude. Is really being able to understand what is it that's inside of us that keeps us from stepping into our greatness, right? Like, this is what I've spent my life studying. This is what I have taught my clients how to do and things like that. The big thing is, and this is where, and some of you are saying things in a way like that's interesting, is that this is what causes people to fight, okay? And if we can look at what causes people to fight, then we can also understand what is it that keeps us from stepping out into the uncomfortableness and recognizing what is really coming up that keeps us from moving through that, right? I would say I've been able to step into my greatness because of you. April, you're amazing. Thank you. So this is it. The reason people fight, the reason we stay in the areas of where we're at, is because we don't have levels of understanding to support us in letting go of what we have to let go, and being able to create what it is that we want to create, because we have things stuck that keep us playing small, right? I look like the principal in Back to the Future. I guess I'm going to have to rewatch Back to the Future because I'm not aware of that. So what is it? Like, you start thinking about, we have been conditioned to believe what is possible based on the people that spoke into our lives. Okay. So if we look at 75% of what we access in our entire life was by the age of 5, right? Then we start understanding that the conditioning that we receive from our parents, our authority figures, our whatever, are the very people that shaped what we believe is possible. Okay. We live in an era where there is more money being generated now than ever before in history, right? Yeah, for sure, you have to eliminate toxic things in your life, right? But also look at how it's impacted you, right? Like, you can change your environment all you want, but the environment that's inside of you is the most important one, right? Like, and so our biggest fear, one of our biggest fears, is being separated from our tribe. That's just a primal thing, right? Like, back in the day, like the Renaissance time, the Bronze Age, all that stuff, the way they punished people is they exiled them. They just kicked them out of the community. That was more painful than being executed, right? So we have to look at this from a psychological standpoint and understand what is going on with our nervous system that creates us from moving into what is fully possible within ourselves, right? And so, hi, Jeff Bezos. Wow, that's interesting. Like, if I was Jeff Bezos, well, I'd still probably be on here doing what I do. But see, it's levels of understanding, right? Like, how many of you have been conditioned by parents that has taken what they were conditioned to believe, and that's what they use to educate you. That's what they use to condition you to believe what is possible, right? Excuse me. So I talked about this in my class last night, is looking at like in 1950 to 78, this is when the distribution age came around, right? Some awesome Halloween costume ideas, right? Right? No kidding. And being able to understand, like in 78 to 94 is when the technology age came along and the information age come along back in 2003. Like the advancement in what's happening and the distribution of wealth, the time frame between each era is shortening, right? And there's been some models that have been demonstrated to support people in knowing how to create a significant amount of wealth. Yes, I am from California. I live in Central California. And so the reason I ask that is, what is, so I'll tell for those of you that is the first time you've ever seen me here, I am the potential guy. Like I have the potential code, I have the potential zone, I have the map to your fullest potential. Like if you want a copy of this, let's give me 5,000 likes and I'll give everybody on here a copy of my book. Okay. I'm obsessed with the word potential. Potential is the actualization of possibility. So what that means is if it's been done by somebody else, then we cannot argue anymore that it's not possible. Okay. And so look at, there are how many like kids that are literally younger than 18 years old that are multimillionaires on YouTube. Like there's a billionaire that I think is called Mr. Beast or something like that. That dude is worth over $1 billion because of his YouTube channel, right? So and being able to understand how this is created is a great opportunity for you. See, it's not that it's not possible, it's that you believe that it's not possible, right? And so being able to look at how these were created, then you have the same opportunity, right? We like I was around before the web came around, and understand that Mr. Like I've got more hair than you can understand, right? Right? Like Hexen television, like what are you wanting to create? Because I will gladly escort you out of this room really, really quickly, right? Like I'm not interested in having a conversation with somebody like that shows up like that. So being able to look at what's been created and you stepping into what's possibility, because if we don't understand what is possible, then we are going to have all this stuff come up that we were conditioned to believe. Because I was raised in a generation that you have to get a good education so that you can get a good job, and so that you can go get a good or get a good education so you can get a good job. Like that's what the whole educational system teaches us, right? So in order for us to expand into unknown areas, we have to look at what are we accessing that is determining and filtering what we believe we can create. Okay. And so that means that we're going to have to let go of some beliefs, right? I know who I am, so it gets me through it. Okay, gets you through what? I wish somebody saw my potential. I see your potential. Like I see it. Like everybody's got endless potential inside of them. It's what determines what you believe is possible is what you believe about yourself. Okay. And so being able to look at getting clear about what it is that you want to create, right? And so many people have been conditioned to just get by. Like, let's just get by. And guess what happens? That's what they end up creating, right? So many people are focusing on just getting their bills and their expenses paid. That's it. And that's all they end up creating in their life, rather than looking at how can I do everything that I can to feed my messaging so that my message ends up making a difference in people's lives, right? Like you start focusing on those kinds of things and you will be amazed at what actually happens in your life. Like I'm not here, the reason I am here is to support people that want it, that are serious about it, and then being able to implement the strategies that I teach them so that they're able to create the life that they want. Like people that, by the way, I got to put this up there. April's here, and I appreciate April. Like this is why I created the ROI Accelerator Challenge, right? Is you being able to have a community, right? Like community is super important, and having people around you that are demonstrating what is possible. When you're in that kind of environment, it is very, we'll say, intoxicating of seeing other people win, and you want to be a part of that community. And this is why I created the ROI Accelerator Challenge, is because this is an arena, a platform, and a community where I'm watching people take their ideas and literally create amazing things really, really quickly, right? And you can decide to suspend disbelief. Like you can suspend disbelief and step into a space and go, what if it's possible? Right? Because so many of us has been conditioned by the news, right? Like understand the news job is to make you afraid and it's to make you angry. Like that's its only job. Why does it do that? Is because then it can create you to suffer. And if you suffer, that means you're going to consume something more so that you eliminate that suffering, right? So I'm encouraging you to exercise your greatest gift, which is your ability to choose, right? And exercise it and being able to, dude, you're actually more than welcome to leave. I don't need you to be here, right? Because the reason you're not actually saying anything is because you don't have the comprehension to understand what's being said. So I'm totally cool with that. You're welcome to leave. If not, I will support you in that. So being able to look at how do you scale what it is that you want to scale is by you letting go of what is it that's holding you at the level that you're at. And we can never do that unless we're going to ask ourselves some questions. So what is it that's standing in your way? What is it that's standing in your way? What is it that you're actually creating by how you show up in life? And some of the things that are being commented on here, right? Like I can see why you're where you're at, just how you show up on this conversation, right? What are you expecting to get out of saying some of the things that you're saying? What is it that you hope to create out of that, right? You can get a lot more flies with honey than you can vinegar, okay? And so your health is standing in your way. Well, have you ever considered that the way you're standing in this conversation is impacting your health? Just saying, right? So because your subconscious mind does not understand the difference if you are talking about yourself or somebody else. Okay. So when you're saying something to somebody else, your subconscious mind literally thinks that you're talking about yourself. Then you're going to think that somebody else is thinking the same way about you. Okay. So a thing called perception is projection. Okay. I accept your apology. And I'm here to support people. Like I'm just going to share the truth with you, and then you can go do whatever you want with it. So here's the question. What is it that's standing in your way? Like really, what is it that's standing in your way? Get really honest with that and face it, right? Are you creating an environment that supports you transcending whatever it is standing in the way? This is why I created the ROI Accelerator Challenge, is giving people the opportunity, like I have somebody on here that's part of it, to rewrite your past, because we came into this world, infinite possibility was in our horizon, right? But what happened is we got conditioned to believe that we were supposed to play at a certain level in order for us to get accepted. Okay. We were put into an educational system that taught us it's not okay to ask other people, to inquire questions is wrong, to think on your own is wrong, to look outside of the box that they put you in is wrong. You don't do it the way that they want you to do it. They put you in special ed classes, right? So we have been conditioned that it equals humiliation if we question the system, right? So this is some of the stuff that impacts us when we're taking generational stuff that we have been conditioned to believe, and then we want to step out into our dreams, but yet all of this stuff comes up and we go, what happens if I challenge all this? And see, here's what I want to propose to everybody. It's not what to believe. It's not what to believe. It's how to believe, right? And being able to, what beliefs are standing in your way, right? Like really be X-Man, dude. What is standing in your way and where did these beliefs come from? Now, here's the other part of it. Well-meaning people, well-intended people didn't want us to experience the disappointment that they experienced. So they said, don't take risks. Play it safe. Play it safe. Get a job that you get, think of this word, you get benefits, right? Like I've coached some very, very, very high level executives, and those are golden handcuffs. The benefits becomes the seduction that keeps you from creating the life that you were destined to create. Here's another interesting fact here is the number one cause, listen very clearly what I'm about to tell you. The number one cause for fatal heart attacks after the age of 55 is job dissatisfaction. So you think about what percentage of your life are you investing into a career? And don't you think that that should be one of the questions that you really spend some time with? Like, I'm exchanging a third of my life to do something. Shouldn't there be some process there of me doing something that absolutely sets my soul on fire? Right? Hey, Joshua, it's good to see you, brother. I appreciate you being here. But when you start doing something, because see, I say this quote many, many times. It's from the good old band Rush, but it's a powerful quote. And it says, we pay the price, but we don't count the cost. We pay the price, but we don't count the cost, because we have been so indoctrinated in how to suffer, right, that we don't recognize how much our suffering is actually costing us. Right. And so when somebody comes along and says, hey, I think that you would be amazing at this, and you put yourself in an environment where other people are going out and making amazing things happen, you start entertaining different possibilities. Right. And so, like, I had a client that came to me and he was doing about $10,000 to $15,000 a month. Right. Today, he's doing over $200,000 a month. What did he have to let go of in order for him to step into that level of scaling? He had to get in touch with the fact that anytime he did something wrong, his dad went sideways on him. So he had the program inside of him that said, me expanding beyond my comfort zone means I'm going to be humiliated. Do you think that impacted his ability to expand? Absolutely. Right. So we worked changing some of his beliefs and changing his past and reconditioning some things and stuff like that. And it was just like you took a slingshot and just pow, just like shot him into the stratosphere. What we resist is going to persist. And that's why I'm asking each and every one of you, what is it that you are resisting? What is it that you're resisting? Because when you face what you fear, death of that fear is certain. I think that was Trudeau that said that. So how do they know if the person who died from a heart attack is dissatisfied with their job? Data. That's from the American Heart Society that came up with that statistic, right? And that's a great question. But you know what? It makes absolute sense to me, because people don't recognize the thing that kills us, the thing that makes us old, the thing that deteriorates our body is cortisol. It's cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, right? Your heart is designed to live in a certain frequency. And if I'm living in a constant state of stress that's filling my body with cortisol, it makes all the sense in the world of why somebody would die at 55 because of job dissatisfaction. It also creates belly fat. Absolutely. Right. But see, I get it. There's people that need data because they have certain convincer strategies. That's cool. Like, I don't believe the thing I say. Go do your research, right? I can assess it by looking at what is true for me, right? Like, I have worked in jobs that were absolutely hell for me, and really looking at how much did that cost me being in a toxic environment. Whew, it was horrible. I totally get the resistance. You totally intimidated me when I first encountered you. At first, it took me a few months to really understand why I was so attracted to your energy. I struggled to feel worthy to be in your wow. Like, thank you for sharing that. Like, that's and with that said, is I would be encouraged to find out, who did I remind you of? Right. And that goes along with some of the other things that's important here as well, is because our perception is not reality. Our perception is not reality. So we are going to project our inner world into we are going to project our inner world into what we see, right? That's why I say projection is perception, right? So here's a question I'd ask everybody, right? What determines if you like somebody or not? What determines if you like somebody or not? What determines if you are going to listen to them or not? What is your convincer strategy? What determines if you can trust them or not? Like, I've had people come on here and say, I can't trust anybody because he's got a backdrop in the back. I'm like, wow, if that's all it takes for you to mistrust somebody, that's got to be an interesting life, right? Because at the end of the day, what determines if you can trust somebody? What determines if you can trust somebody? This is a life-changing question, and I'm going to give you the answer, but I want you to sit with it for a moment. Like, what determines if you can trust somebody? And a lot of people don't get this, because what they do is they give that responsibility to somebody else. right? And I'm just going to tell you, like, I get it. Like, I didn't, I didn't like this answer when I got it. There is not a person on this world that is 100% trustworthy. There's not one person on this planet that is 100% trustworthy, right? How can I say that? Is because how many things have you held back because you were afraid of how it was going to land for the person, right? You had good intentions, right? Like, how many times did you fudge a little bit on a story, right? When I say 100% trustworthy, I say 100% trustworthy, right? But why do we look for that and go, is this person trustworthy? Because what I'm doing is I'm literally giving this person responsibility to see if I can connect with them rather than the truth. The truth is, what determines if I can trust somebody is me trusting my ability to make that distinction of whether this person is somebody I'm going to invest in or not. Because who can you trust if you don't trust yourself? Right. And again, this has everything to do with you scaling your business. Because like think about the statistics are everywhere, right? 85% of lottery winners file bankruptcy within 5 years of winning the lottery. Why? 9 out of 10 businesses fail in 5 years. Why? And then out of the 10% that make it, 80% of them fail within the next 5 years. Why? Why is all this data showing up that the saying there's all kinds of breakdowns happening? Is because they're not trusting their inner world. And people are recognizing it more and more. Like, you go watch anybody that understands. Like, my mentors charge $25,000 to $50,000 an hour, right? And all of it is you being able to trust your ability, your willingness to step into the uncomfortableness long enough for you to go through the learning curve and stay committed and create what it is that you want to create, right? And the other part of making decisions, like in the class I teach you, like, really, what is it why you decide what you decide? We cannot connect with people without trust. You just have to trust yourself. Absolutely. And you have to trust your inner world, like understanding, like, I can meet somebody, and I say this all the time, like, every time we meet somebody new, we get introduced to a new version of who we are, right? I can meet somebody and there can be something about this person that triggers something inside of me. Now, triggers aren't bad for me. It's just understanding, like, something's getting animated inside of me. And I can ask the question, is this true? Like, what is coming up? What am I learning about myself and things like that? And being able to allow things to unfold, right? Patience has not been my virtue, but me getting my butt kicked many, many, many times, I've learned to allow things to unfold a little bit more than what I used to. This is what happens when you've gone around the sun as many times as I have, right? So the other part of it is trusting your ability to love into the pain that the wound caused you. Like that, because why is us trusting someone so important to us is that we don't want to get hurt. Well, the reason we don't want to get hurt is because we have not been taught how to love into that pain and transcend that pain and recognize what my power truly is. This is what takes people out. This is why lottery rentals file bankruptcy. This is why businesses fail, is because they get into parts of their life where they can't expand. Their nervous system cannot expand at the rate that is required for them to make happen what they desire to make happen, right? Because, see, here's an interesting thing. There is the work you do on whatever you're working at, right? But then there's also the component of the work that it does on you, right? So Alex, I can't remember the last dude's name, but see, there's this process that you go through by staying committed by staying engaged in the process that you want to create, that you get to find out things about yourself that you don't get to otherwise, right? We have to appreciate failure. Okay. So, I like that word. And I'm going to expand on this a little bit. What does failure mean? Like, this is one of the things the sham has taught us. And when I say sham, it's our society's hypnotic altered matrix. Society's hypnotic altered matrix, right? We have been conditioned that if I don't fit into the box, the way the box has been created, this is how I grew up in education. I don't know what it's like anymore. But if we got an F on the paper, the scores to the test, the results got put out into the hallway. And guess what? The F was a big red F. So everybody got to laugh at you, got to humiliate you, all that. This is what we avoid inside of us. We don't want to fail because we have associated it with a humiliating experience in the past. Okay. But here, this is what the system taught us. There's no such thing as failure. There is no such thing as failure. Failure is nothing more than feedback. It's nothing more than feedback. But when we condition it and frame it like this is going to fail, and failure to me equals humiliation or separated from my tribe. This is what keeps us from scaling, right? Just like I shared with you with my friend or my one client that went from 10 to 15,000, he's doing over 200,000 a month, right? Is that he had it framed around failure. And if I take a risk and it doesn't turn out like I hoped, I'm going to fail. And when I fail, that means that I'm going to get the wrath of my dad. Whether it's true or not, that's what his nervous system has been trained to believe, right? So it's you exceeding what your bandwidth is of your nervous system. Like last night, April's on here. She's in the course. Like last night, I came up with something that was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. In understanding your capacity to be agile, which means expand and contract, is so vital to your expansion. So if you expand too quick, there's going to be a point where you reach a threshold and things start breaking down. Or if you don't expand enough, that's required to you how to show up to address whatever you need to address, that's also going to impact it because like you need to make $15,000 a month, but you're only making $10,000 a month is because you're not willing to expand to fill in that gap, because you have stories within yourself based on past experiences that keep you from stepping in that. It is your ability to manage your inner world is the secret to you scaling your business. Your scaling your business is a reflection of you. Your relationships are a reflection of you. Your life is a reflection of you. As I am, see, life doesn't happen to you. Life doesn't happen for you. Life happens through you. As I am, so it is. As I am, so it is. And I see a lot of things on TikTok, and I got to be careful because like I had my other account live shut down because you can only say certain things. And I can just even be careful what I'm saying now. There's a lot of people that talk about somebody else hurting them, but they don't understand that they were part of creating that relationship. And if you don't address the part of you that was responsible for creating that, you're just going to keep repeating it. And then you're going to be projecting all the wounds that you had onto everybody else, and you're going to deny yourself some incredible experiences. Like there's traits of narcissism, there's traits of codependency, and we all have this in us, right? I think, therefore am. Yes. And I would expand that a little bit more because our thinking is not even near as powerful as our heart, right? Like there's all kinds of neuroscience around that that's showing our energy, which is our coming from our heart, shows up long before our physical part of us does. And looking at, like, if you look at thinking as masculine, the heart being as feminine, right? Because as I think, that is also how I'm interpreting data. Your perception is an agreement to whatever you believe is to be, right? Yes, we have to take responsibility for our actions. We have to take responsibility for how we perceive things. We have to take responsibility for how I show up. I have to take responsibility for what I believe. And part of that is, like, I could be completely wrong. Like, I am totally cool with the fact that I'm being wrong because I understand that I am interpreting information based on my model of the world. And if someone shares something with me and I understand that, then I open up space for them to be vulnerable and really share with me what it was that they really intended, right? So again, all of this has to do with you scaling your business, right? To me, the greatest thing that we can do as people is being an entrepreneur, right? And learning how to manage our inner world so that we can teach other people how to do the same thing and contribute what we want to contribute to this world. Like, that's the greatest gift. Like, that's the most fulfilling thing in this world. So what is it that you want to share with this world? What do you want to share with this world? Great place to start. What did you want to be as a kid? What did you want to be as a child? What did you want to be as a child? Because this is the other part that I've seen happen more and more and more is when you are out of congruency with who you truly are. Again, this is like what I was talking about with heart attacks is if you're out of congruency, like I've coached clients that were massive, very, very successful network marketers, but the more success they had in the company, they got to see what was going on behind the scenes in that company. And they started going, this company's ethics are not anything that I can get behind. And here they built this big organization in this company and going, I'm out of congruency. Like I told all these people to join this thing and here we go. Like, what am I supposed to do now? And guess what? Their body broke down and they ended up in the hospital, like literally like a mental breakdown because they were operating out of alignment with who they truly were. Right. So my question to you, my friend, is what is it that you wanted to be as a child? What significant events have you had happen in your life that me asking that question comes up, right? And what is it? What do you get to glean out of that? So the reason I'm here, and I'll just support you in sharing some of my own journey. Like I was a jeweler for 20 years. Like I was master jeweler designer, blah blah blah. I had a very successful jewelry company online, like way before Blue Nile was even around. Did made lots and lots of money doing it, but inside there were parts of me that were coming up that was really impacting my motivation to move forward. I was out of congruency and I didn't know it. And then one day I woke up and my entire business, like multi 7-figure business, shut down just like that. And I started having to ask myself some questions. And like we can change from pain, like pain's a great motivator to get our attention, or we can learn something that causes us to see different options, or we can be in an environment that calls us forward. Like these are the three things that really support us in changing what we believe, not or how we believe, right? So I lost all that. And then I started asking myself, what was it about jewelry that I thoroughly enjoyed? Well, what I thoroughly enjoyed in doing in jewelry is exactly what I do as a trainer now. Same thing. Like I like making people feel valuable. I like creating people understanding that anything's possible. I love delivering value, right? And I like being a part of people's most significant events in their life. Like these are all the things that I got out of jewelry. So you paying attention to what is it? Like I was talking to a friend of mine. She's a realtor, powered up realtor, has a broker company. I said, what is it about being a broker that you enjoy? She enjoys helping people. And I said, oh, okay, interesting. So what happens after you sell the house? And I started inquiring a little bit deeper. And I suspect there's a possibility that she might end up being a coach because she enjoys helping people. So what's standing in the way? What's causing the resistance? What is your environment? How is your environment supporting you? Because your environment is literally stronger than your willpower, right? What did you want to be as a child? What are the significant events that you've had happen in your life? What feeds you? Like these are all questions I'd be writing down if I were you. What feeds you? What drains you? And you start living your life by design rather than by default, right? So, okay. So someone said I failed my real estate exam 8 times. And I appreciate you being honest. Like that just took a whole lot of courage to share that. I appreciate you sharing that. So what is the message? Like, what are you making that mean? Right? My math disability wouldn't let me pass. PTSD held me back. Okay. So, okay. Thank you so much for sharing this. Okay. Our educational system, and let's just talk about that word educate, right? And intelligence, right? Educate literally means to draw from within. That's what the word educate means, right? But we, like, go look this up. Don't believe me. Go look this up. Rockefeller created the educational system to create employees, right? The way they teach math is actually backwards, right? I got a lot of mentor friends. Like one of them, like I said, my one mentor that charges 25 to 50 grand an hour, right? He had dyslexia. Dyslexia isn't a learning disability, it's a teaching disability because they don't understand that people with dyslexia are actually kinesthetic, right? So that's what is important. Like there's ways to work around things, but yeah, so you sing as a kid, right? Like we live in an era, like you can make anything happen that sets your soul on fire, right? But I just want to say, so the other thing is about intelligence. See, we have all made decisions about our intelligence based on the educational system, right? And I get it. Like I've worked through lots and lots of stuff around this. What does intelligent means to you? Like, what does it mean to you, right? I post singing songs in here. I'm pretty sure I have that too. Um, I think they called it cerebral palsy too. See, and that's the other thing. Like they love diagnosing things because if they can diagnose it, they can prescribe a pill for it. Just saying, right? I would encourage you to look up Louise Hay's work and start looking at some of the things that have come up because dis-ease is a result of emotion or trapped emotion within our body. This is also what impacts us expanding our business. So basically, the whole message is to say this. You want to expand your business, put yourself in an environment that's going to call you forward, right? Because anytime you are in an environment, environments are all about homeostasis. We are homeostasis beings, which means we love to balance, right? So if you're in an environment, that environment is going to do everything it can to keep you at the level that you're at. So put yourself in an environment that calls you forward. That like you get around people that make 8, 9 figures, they think way different. They think way different, right? Like they're not scared of options. They're not scared of talking about, they love talking about ideas. They love talking about possibilities. They like you bring an idea to them and they're like, hey, wow, that's interesting, and pull it forward, or they'll give you some, they love helping people. But see, we've all been conditioned by just look at Marvel. Like just look at Marvel and all the like Spider-Man, the villain in Spider-Man was very, very wealthy. Like they demonize being wealthy. So we hear the thing, get rich quick. We call it a scheme, thinking it's paranoid, because we have been conditioned to believe that by somebody else. Like my mentor, he's made $4.5 million in 45 minutes. They're like, when you see that it happens, you can't argue your excuses anymore. You cannot do it. And it's putting yourself in environments that allow you to see what is possible. But you can stay with what's comfortable. Like, see, this is the other thing that people do. Like when I was training for network marketing companies, people would go talk to their 5 best friends, but their 5 best friends at the same financial level that they are. They take financial advice from broke people, right? Bruce Wayne is wealthy, right? That's one of the few, right? And good observation, right? But he inherited it, right? Like he inherited it. So that's the other part of like, what is your relationship with money, right? Like I'll just show you this. How do you hold your money? Like my money is in my wallet and it is arranged by denomination, right? Like I have it all organized. I have them all facing the same way. I've worked hard. Like I've created to make this happen. How do you have your money? You have it just stuck in your purse? Do you have it just wadded up in your wallet? Your relationship with money determines how much of it you have, right? Just food for thought. So I just really, really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the likes, appreciate all the questions. I'm usually here Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Appreciate the follows, appreciate the shares, appreciate everybody being here. And everybody, so it's Thursday night. Everybody have a blessed weekend. I'll probably jump on TikTok later. If you're on Potential Zone group, get over to TikTok and follow me over there. If you're on TikTok, get over to the Potential Zone group. And you'll be glad you did, because I put lots of great resources in the Potential Zone group. Go listen to my podcast, the potentialzoneshow.com. Appreciate each and every one of you being here. Much love. Thank you so much. It's nice to meet the new followers. And until then, be blessed. And as always, live like your life depends on it, because it does. Much love, my friends. Take care.